Architecture and me were nowhere related. I was just doing street photography, and Raghurai came to Ahmedabad. He was doing a book on Vinay Doshi's Gufa, and I was assisting. And Doshi said, "Raghu, मेरा building यार किसी ने shoot ही नहीं है, तू करेगा?" Raghurai said, "मेरे को time नहीं, तू इसको ले ले, अच्छा है लड़का." I didn't know who Vinay Doshi was, right? So one thing that I've learned is never take images, always make images. Buildings are made to make humans look small. They're not, right? Basically, human gives meaning, purpose, and functionality to the buildings. They don't give scale to buildings, right? So let's not destroy the purpose of architects is what I believe. They look at the hair of the girl and the hair of the girl in the front. You know, I didn't tell her to baal aise karo. Right? So architecture mein shayad bol bhi dete when aam chal. I don't understand. I still don't understand why a girl in off-white is always walking in all the buildings. If we take back, like I have no connection with architecture apart from the fact I do shoot buildings, but there are so many life lessons that you take back, right?
For a fascinating and informative session, this masterclass will dwell into the art and intricacies of architecture and life, filmmaking, and photography. A businessman and part-time documentary photographer transitioned to full-time photography after working with National Geographic and the UN. His first architectural assignment with architect B.B. Doshi shaped his philosophy, turning passion into best of his life. Vinay's session on architecture and life dwells into life experiences, exploring how he perceives architectural photography as a storytelling medium and how life and architecture can be documented. Further, I would like to welcome Vinay Panjwani, a businessman and part-time documentary photographer, transitioned to full-time photography after working with National Geographic.
Okay, thank you. Normally, till now, whenever this happens, I'm on that side. So I was checking if the photographer is taking the right angle or not. So thank you, Jayesh bhai. It was really insightful to attend and be a part of the wonderful, lessons that you gave us for these kind of people that we attend. I think more than anything else, if we take back, like I have no connection with architecture apart from the fact I do shoot buildings, but there are so many life lessons that you take back, right? And basically, today's session. I would want to revolve around that. I will not be talking anything technical about photography, so sorry if you're here for that. And I'm not giving out any trade secrets of my photography, so sorry about that. I'm born and brought up in Gujarat, and on top of it, I'm a Siddhi. So, you understand. So thank you, Elev8. It's heartening to see such a good audience, and thank you everyone for coming and making it during lunchtime. So thank you for switching on the lights. So पाछळनी room में कोई है ऊँग आती है तो we are not watching you. So basically, I'm going to talk about my journey and how I've incorporated documentary photography, which was my passion, into the architectural photography that I do. Right? I believe I do very little work, compared to what architects do. Like Jayashree was explaining on how much work goes on in the back end, and then how many years of work goes on to finish a project. And then we are there just for 1 day or 2 days, and we need to do justice to the project. Right? So he knows that I'm probably one photographer who cancels shoots every time he assigns me to, because I always tell him, sir, light barabar nathi, loko nathi, આ નથી, તે નથી, એમને લાગશે નખરા બહુ કરે છે. પણ બેસિકલી મને ખબર છે આમને એમને જિંદગીને 20 વર્ષ નાખ્યા છે. He's building a legacy. I'm just helping document what the architects do, right? So basically that's our job as photographers, that we need to, present correctly on what the hard work and the vision that the architects and the concerned people have done, right? So before I go ahead, how many aspiring photographers are here? Wow, there's a lot of competition. How many aspiring architectural photographers are here? I'm retiring next year, so I have no tension. And how many architects do we have here? Wow, so I have many clients. Please meet me outside after the class. Okay, and how many students do we have here? He just taught us the all students, right? Okay, so basically, I don't think this is working. Okay, I have had a very big confusion, because midlife crisis, I entered very late in photography, right? I got married in 2000, and that's the first time I bought my camera because mane loko na, I hope Gujarati is okay. Fabian will complain a bit, but I keep talking. For those who don't know him, Fabian is a fantastic photographer, and probably we'll be lucky to hear him tomorrow. So I bought my first camera in 2000 after I got married, and basically, I had one subject who would not complain I was taking pictures of. So I thought, okay, chalo, aap photo lene, aana to photo pada says. So I have one question for all of us, whether you're architects, whether you're photographers, whatever you are, I have not been able to answer this till date. I've been struggling, doing many things. Before I was, not even a reasonably successful photographer or, reasonably successful, whatever I was in life. There was one question that troubles all of us is what does success mean to you and where do you need to stop, right? Or pause. I would not say stop, but pause in life, right? So, apne paas zare kaam na tu. You don't have work, you're struggling for work, you're very restless, right? So, you keep asking yourself, when I'll be successful, right? And things keep evolving and you still keep asking yourself, when will I be successful, right? So, how do you define success? I don't know. Can somebody help me answer that? Jayashmi. What does success mean to you?
Satisfaction of your work.
Satisfaction of your work. The other Jayashmi.
For me personally, when you are able to make someone smile or happy.
Excellent. You make someone smile or happy. If I shoot for free for you, will make you happy, but I'll be. Is that success? But I agree to what you said. Yes.
Something which fires you to live for.
Fires you to live for.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you are at peace with yourself.
When you are at peace with yourself. Who is at peace with himself or herself? In today's age, anyways, we were never at peace with ourselves, but Instagram has made it more difficult, right? Yes. Yes.
Is that success is a dynamic process. It evolves as you evolve in your thought process, and it's not static.
Excellent. Right. So probably one answer that he's given is how nice. Can we have an applause for him? That success is always a dynamic process, right? And I think it's always a dynamic problem for me at least, right? Solution So I keep asking myself. I thought when I'll be loaded with assignments, I'll be successful. Today, fortunately, I am not overloaded. I'm loaded with assignments. I charge the maximum that the industry pays. I'm successful then. I don't charge the highest, so architects don't worry. Probably Fabian charges more than we will discuss it later. Yeah. I'm loaded with good assignments. Right? So probably पहला तो जे काम आवे લઈ લો બહુ જ કામ જોઈએ રાઈટ સો આઈ એમ સક્સેસફુલ પછી આપણે પૈસા વધારે પડશે ફી તો વધારે પડશે હવે આપણને એક્સપિરિયન્સ થઈ ગયો જયેશભાઈ નું કામ કરું છું આમનું કામ દોશી સાહેબનું કામ સો આઈ નીડ મોર મની સો પીપલ સ્ટાર્ટ સેઇંગ ઓકે ભાઈ આટલા લે તું આટલા લે વાંધો નહીં મારું કામ કર સો યુ ફીલ યુ આર સક્સેસફુલ and then gradually I start choosing assignments right and one important thing are my clients happy with my work. That I think is very important because obviously you are representing and documenting for somebody and probably I'm always nervous before an assignment because I always feel will the client be happy that his art was properly showcased, right? Because architects are artists, right? And you are blessed because an artist is entrusting the responsibility of documenting his art through your art form, right? So you're always nervous and you're asking yourself. But when all this happens, right? Today I have a lot of work, I am loaded with assignments, I have a lot of good assignments. I believe my clients are happy, clients are paying me well. But again I keep asking myself, am I successful? જ્યારે કામ નતું ત્યારે પણ મગજમાં અશાંતિ હતી અત્યારે બહુ કામ છે તો પણ આપણે ભાગીએ છીએ કે ઓ શિટ ડેટ નથી આમને ડેટ કરી આપો એને ડેટ કરી આપો આનું કઈ રીતે થશે I just have one day to go here. How will I do it? What if the sun doesn't rise? What if does not happen? Oh God, that photographer has posted on Instagram. Why didn't I get that project? I should have done this. Oh, he's got so many followers, I don't have it. Oh, he has so many likes to his story, I don't have it. He's the keynote speaker at such an event, I was not invited. So basically, I have never been at peace. Right? Fortunately, I found two gurus in my life, and I'm going to share you about that. And basically, whatever I'm going to tell you, whatever little I know in photography is because of these gurus. Right? So one thing that I want to tell all of you is that we are not here in a business if you are a photographer or a filmmaker, right? You are here to create something, right? As architects, I also don't believe you are in a business, right? You are first there to create something, right? And I think that gives you the most satisfaction in life. At least it gives me after a day's work, if I feel, oh, I got great images, I think I'm successful in that evening at least, right? So the first important thing that I have learned, that's Raghurai, he's one of my gurus.
You have to have a cool eye and a warm heart. So, if you are observing those kind of situations and photographing them, to photograph the intensity and power of it, you have to have silence inside you.
Right. So what I realized was that what was missing or is still missing in all of us is we don't have the silence to observe anything. And as a photographer, the most important aspect that you need is you need to be silent and calm to go there and understand and assess the situation. More as a professional photographer, you'll always be stressed because, as I said, someday they won't be liked, someday you won't like the project, someday you won't be paid well, someday something will go wrong. So things are never in our favor for everybody. But basically, if you're there with yourself, composed, less work or more work, if you're doing good work, I think that's what's important for me now at this stage, right? So just to briefly tell you, for 20 years, I used to hate one community the most, that was architects. Because હું લાકડા ધંધામાં હતો. I used to sell plywood. એટલે આર્કિટેક્ટ ને ટાઈમ લો કે સાહેબ પ્લાયવુડ બતાવો તો કે ભાઈ બહાર બેસાડો 3 કલાક માથું ખાશે. Right? So I used to tell my dad I'm never going to meet an architect ever in my life. But luckily today, I'm working with the best architects and they are my favorite people today. Right? So for 20 years, this is what I did. I finished my MBA and I was the only son from a Sindhi family, so I had to join the business. And I thought that is what my life's calling was, right? So this was my cabin, that's my dad. And basically, my office did not have any windows. So we we grew the business many-fold. I didn't have such big numbers as we saw, but we had about 60 people working for us, 3 factories, and I was doing reasonably well, right? While I was doing all this, I was, as I said, when I got married, I picked up the first camera, and all I used to photograph was my wife. I wanted to go out and shoot the people on the street because when I was going to, but I was always scared. कि street में जिन photos लेस तो सु गजर लाफा मार सकता कोई कैसे दे why are you shooting, right? So you feel very embarrassed. So I was very afraid and I was very very always thinking should I take the camera out. But I started shooting on weekends and I started going out to villages and every weekends I was shooting. On photo बताओ कौन है? અત્યારે you have Instagram, you have people and because of mobiles, let me tell you, everybody is visually very literate now. People have started understanding good photography because all of us are photographers, right? All of us are shooting, right? So that has actually helped the cause a lot. So while I was when I used to come back and my wife unfortunately was the only audience. So photos I used to take on every weekend. I used to come and show her poor thing, okay, how is this, right? And basically, she used to tell me, photos बहुत clear है, right? Most of the relatives said, बहुत सरस एकदम clear photo पाड़े भाई, अब photo तो clear camera है पाड़े उस, અને ગુજરાતી में एक तकलीफ બીજી છે કે આપણે કે photo પાડે ઉસ, આને પાડો પેલા પાડો આને પાડો પેલું પાડો photo પાડી નાખો, right? So આપણે photo પાડવા નથી, right? So one thing that I've learned is never take images, always make images. Right, so that's one important life lesson that I've got back. So for 1 year I did this street photography every weekend in villages, and I didn't know what to do about the photographs that I had, because even the Instagram and very few platforms to show your work. And I thought photography is a very expensive hobby. I'm not probably spending good time with it. So I sold my camera. And after 1 year I sold my camera. હવે એ વખતે ટેવ પડી ગઈ હતી કે એવરી વીકેન્ડ શું કરવાનું, તો જઈને ગામડાઓમાં ફોટા પાડવા, પણ હવે કંઈ હતું નહીં, તો વીકેન્ડે કરો શું હતા, ચલો ફોટા થોડા આપણે પોસ્ટ કરીએ. સો આઈ સ્ટાર્ટેડ સેન્ડિંગ ઇમેજીસ ટુ એની એન્ડ એવરી ઇન્ટરનેશનલ કોન્ટેસ્ટ ઓર નેશનલ કોન્ટેસ્ટ, જે બી મળ્યું બધે મોકલે, આપણે જે ફ્રી હતું ત્યાં મોકલે બધા આપણે, રાઈટ. સો ધીસ વન ફોટોગ્રાફ એકચ્યુઅલી ચેન્જ માય લાઈફ. This was taken in the early part of my career, and one day we were resting, about 10 in the night I got a call from some gentleman, and he said, I'm calling from NPPA, that's National Press Photographers Association of America, and we are happy to tell you that you have won some second prize or first prize for this photograph, and we invited you, we want you to come down to Durham to attend the event. And I had a phone મૂકી દીધો. I was very happy. I told my wife કે ફોટો આપણે અવોર્ડ લાગ્યો છે મોટો. પછી 2 મિનિટ પછી વિચાર્યું કેટલાનો લાગ્યો, આખી તો આપણે ગુજરાતી જ છે, તો મેં કીધું એ તો પૂછ્યું જ નહીં કેટલાનો કેશ બેક લાગ્યો. એટલે on the next day I wrote him the email કે Mr. Jim, thank you so much for the award and I would love to come down, what's the cash prize? Because that was the first award that I won. I thought international award to $10,000 મળશે. So he just laughed, and he must have laughed, and he wrote me back that, Mr. Panjwani, unfortunately there's no cash in it. But you are one of the 3 photographers in the world who have got this. One is from China, and the only one from India, and one from somewhere who's coming, and it's a big achievement. So I was happy. And then suddenly after 2 months, Venice Madi call that you won some award in Venice, and then some award in Germany, and then the Ministry of India gave me some national award, and then a few awards started happening, and I got 10-12 big awards, and all this was happening when I didn't have a camera. So one day I was eating lunch with my wife, and I was sitting there, we were seeing all the newspapers cutting. She told me that photographer सारा लागो. અત્યાર સુધી બતાય તો સમજ ના પડી એવી છે, કદાચ મને ના પડી. So one mistake that all of us do, and I probably am lucky I did at that time, is we look for third party validation. You need the pat on your back or somebody to tell you कि આ ફોટો बहुत મસ્ત છે ભાઈ, બહુ મજા આવી ગઈ. એણે કીધું તો તમને લાગ્યું કે this photo is really good. If he had or she had not told me, that photo was not good, right? So for me today, what is the best photograph? Validation. હવે તો ઇન્સ્ટા પર વેલિડેશન મળે છે. હમણાં એક ઇન્ટર્ન આવ્યો તો મારી પાસે, અને મને કીધું કે સર આ ફોટો કેવો છે. મેં કીધું કે શું વાત કરો સાહેબ, 1100 લાઈક તો આવી ગયા 1 કલાકની અંદર. તો આવી ગયા છે તો why are you asking me, right? So we have a ready validation platform today. એ વખતે નતું. So basically these things gave me a validation, but today I've realized one thing is, if I'm shooting and when I click and I start getting goosebumps looking into that, this thing, boss, I've created something, right? So basically that's what's giving me the most satisfaction today. So I didn't have any. So one good thing or one mistake that I did, that third party validation worked, and I rebought a camera. પાછો camera લઈ લીધો, પાછો ગામડામાં જઈને ફરવાનું ચાલુ કર્યું. I didn't know what to do, right? Until I met this gentleman, his name is Fauzan Hussain. He was the chief photographer in India Today. He was doing a big exhibition in Ahmedabad. And he came here, and I went him and showed him some of my work, and he saw my work. I don't know if he liked it or not, but he said, अच्छा काम कर रहे, देखो क्या करना है लाइफ में. I don't know from where I had a stupid dream that मेरे लाइफ का बड़े से बड़ा गोल है to have an exhibition at NCPA, that's National Center of Performing Arts in Bombay in Pyramid. I don't know where. I've never been to NCPA. I've never seen any exhibition, but कोई के मगज में ना कि NCPA में exhibition था, એટલે તમારી જિંદગી घूमना नहीं लीधो એવું છે, राइट? એટલે મેં કીધું સર मेरा ड्रीम है मुझे एनसीपी में एग्जीबिशन करना है. He said अच्छा वहां क्यों करना है? मैंने नहीं सर, मैंने सुना है तो कभी तो लाइफ में करूंगा. And then he goes back, and after a week he calls me कि अगले दिसंबर में तेरा गैलरी बुक कर दी है, वो क्यूरेटर मेरा दोस्त है, मैंने तेरा फीस भर दिया, तेरा एग्जीबिशन है अगले साल वहां. I said wow, it's already happening, right? But I was just 1 year old in photography, and I started thinking बताऊंगा क्या वहां पे. इतना बड़ा gallery, what am I going to show there? You know, so I got very petrified and I called him कि फौजन सर मुझे नहीं पता वहाँ क्या करना है. बोले तुमने तो बोला वहाँ exhibition कर. पैसा मैंने भर दिया अभी तुम करो. So I went back to him in Bombay and I said, sir, you have to teach me what to show there. So he was somebody who was my first mentor and he taught me to do photo essays. Right? He is somebody who doesn't shoot every day and anywhere and anything. He works on subjects. Right? So that also helped me a lot on in architectural photography because all of us who are doing architectural photography are ultimately working on photo essays. Right? Because you're creating a story out of one building. So for 3 years, I chose, he told me कुछ subject could be choose कर ले. So I chose Festivals of India, which was an easy subject. But I wanted to move to a zone which is not comfortable, as you said. So I thought, okay, one day I was having a haircut. And I said, यार barbers पे story कर लेते. Right? So I started shooting barbers and I shot them because I thought this guy is so important, right? You need him in birth, you need him during death, you need him in weddings, you need him in luxury, in necessity, everywhere. He's in each one of our lives and nobody has ever photographed barbers. So I said, let's photograph barbers. Right? I shot barbers for 1 month and I got very confused. Because क्या करोगे? वो बाल काट रहा है, सामने एक आईना लगा हुआ है, नैपकिन है, शेविंग कर रहा है, सब कर रहा है. After that what? It's like shooting bedrooms, honestly. I still am confused on how to actually document bedrooms and interiors. Because bed के 6 साइड मैंने घूम के देख लिया लेकिन मुझे आज तक अच्छा फोटो नहीं मिला. Right? और वो आधा पैनल होता है और आधा मिस्टर सानिया will kill me, she's a very good stylist, but वो आधा बेड और आधा पैनल हम क्यों दिखाते मुझे आज तक नहीं समझ आया. He said that a good architect works for changing people's life here. उस आधे तकिए ने क्यों किसकी जिंदगी बदल दी. But I enjoy shooting interiors at times because I put my camera on that half an hour and Sania and the architect are fighting for 1 hour के वो तकिए का कान थोड़ा ऐसा करो. So आधे घंटे में मैं अगले दिन का काम कर लेता हूँ. So thank you to all the stylists in my life. So I started shooting barbers and you know I started looking at them in very different ways. Like I started shooting festivals also or even weddings or anything. I was just looking at barbers. Can I borrow that bottle of water? So this image is basically during Ganpati festival in Bombay and you see on how Ganpati is actually reflecting off a glass on that barber's face. And it looks as if Ganpati was doing the shaving. This was outside a urinal in Banganga where thousands of people were getting shaved on that day. And it was, believe me, it was a very, very horrible place to be in. And I shot one image of one person being shaved and the whole urinal was blank. And I said, wow, what a dirty place to get shaved. But still he was doing that and I thought a great image. But I thought, नहीं यार, कि एक टकला उस अंदर यूरिनल में होगा और एक टकले का शेव हो रहा है तो कितना अच्छा लगेगा. I got that. After 1 hour, I got 3 taklas and I got 1 takla here. I said, boss, आज तो 6 से होल भरेंगे तभी मैं यहाँ से जाऊँगा. And in the whole day, after 7 hours, I got this one image where they were all taklas. So कभी कोई बाल वाला आ जाता, कभी कोई नहीं आता. So and you can't tell people, boss, वहाँ जरा खड़े रहना. So again, you know, juxtapositions and again mass shaving events. And this lady was not crying in pain. She was happy that, you know, the Lord was accepting her hair. I still don't understand a few things in India, but this was there, right? So you start looking at humor, you start looking at smaller things in life. I also worked on some important social issues like child marriages. This was for New York Times. So you know you start looking at the smaller nuances when you are a documentary photographer, right? So elements like love and Shobhan, how that guy did not know what was happening with his friend was all that friend was abused was and his sister was, and suddenly there was no electricity. This was happening during Janmashtami. It was very humid. So his friends were usko hawa de rahe. So for children it was such a difficult thing. You know, this was how brides are carried into child marriages. So after doing this exhibition, I had a dream. One more strange dream was I had to meet Raghu Rai. How many of you have not heard of Raghu Rai? Okay, so Raghu Rai probably is the greatest photographer that has been on this earth ever. He's still around and he's still my mentor. So I had a dream that I had to meet Raghu Rai one day and show him my work. Now this exhibition of barbers I had exhibited in 4-5 places. NCP में exhibition हो गया, 12-13 award मिल गया. And I thought now it's okay to go and meet this guy, right? I wanted that third party validation. So I messaged Raghu Rai from somewhere कि sir मैं दिल्ली आया हूँ, I'm an aspiring photographer and show him my work. And he just messaged कि आ जाओ कल. I was like wow. So I go to Raghu Rai and I showed him my work. Actually, this was the meeting, the Barbers exhibition. This was 3 years of work, so many exhibitions, so many awards. And he sees the whole exhibition, tuck, 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 tuck. And he said, और बताओ. मैं क्या बताऊँ सर, आप बताओ काम कैसा है, 3 साल का काम. I was thinking, he tell me, wow, what a great work, man. You are the future of this country. He didn't say anything like that. Right? So I was waiting for that third party validation from the greatest in Indian photography to prove myself that I am the next greatest photographer that India has produced. But he didn't say that. He said, नहीं आप मेहनत करो हो जाएगा. So पहले तो ego बहुत hurt हो गया कि I have earned so much respect and what is this guy? Does he even understand photography? Right? But I knew where he was and he said, sir सच बताओ काम कैसे लगा. He said, यार तुम्हारा काम बहुत बीमार है. This is what he told me. At first I didn't take it, but then I said, काम बीमार है तो डॉक्टर आप ही हो, इसको ठीक आप करो. मुझे नहीं पता, मैं नहीं जा रहा हूँ यहाँ से जब तक आप मुझे as a student नहीं लोगे. Right? I was already in my late 30s and I was already in my business, but basically I tried going to him and all he said at this moment was, मुन्ना बड़ा सोचो. He still tells me that मुन्ना बड़ा सोचो. Right? And he tells, तुम जाओ फिर बात करें. So I didn't know बड़ा सोचना क्या होता है. Right? But I came back and fortunately he called me after 6 months. Will you assist me in my book on Gujarat? And I traveled for 3 months. I left the whole business to my dad who struggled, did things on his own, but he allowed me to go. And for 3 months I traveled with him and I learned the nuances of street photography. Now till now I was just shooting one people or one person or two people in a frame and some nuances that were happening, but he was shooting images which had the whole of India in one frame, right? 50 people at the right places doing the right things and as if they were performing for him, right? So I named this project Multiplicity, right? Where I started shooting many people and I started capturing too many things in a frame and I had to put everything in the right perspective and also a context, right? So I started shooting Ahmedabad. So I was already in business. I didn't have that much time. Weekends mein to jata tha, but I got so engrossed in photography that I started, if I had to go for a meeting, I would park my car 500 meters away so I could walk that 10 minutes and take pictures. Or if I had to go to the doctor, if घर में bread चाहिए तो मैं ले आऊँ. अब नहीं बोलता हूँ कभी. But at that time I used to go everywhere because I needed to photograph at every single moment that I could, right? This was at Badra, the only day probably you've seen it so clean because it was opened after Doshi Sahab, corrected it. This was the official image for Ahmedabad being presented as the UNESCO city, and then it turned to this. So even if I was going to take my daughter for her classes, everywhere I was shooting, right? What I understood and what Raghu Rai made me understand that a camera gives you the power to freeze history, right? So basically, the moment you're clicking, you are freezing that moment forever, and every second history is gone, right? While I'm talking to you, my son is already growing older by a few minutes or a few hours, right? My wife is changing, my family is changing, somebody is changing, right? So the history is being lost, and I'm not shooting it. Right, so I'm always disturbed. Okay, why am I not having the camera in my hand, and why am I not shooting things around me when things are happening? Right. One question to all of you: how many of you are photographers? All of you are photographers, right? Everybody has a mobile camera. All of us are shooting. How many of you? Okay, let me ask you: can all of us close our eyes for 5 seconds? If I tell you the word mother, okay, What is the first image that comes to you? You can open your eyes. Chalu hai. Yeah. What is the first image? Blank. कहीं तो विचार ही Yes, of course, I told you to do that, but where did you see your mother in the image? आटलू विचार नहीं.
That's what I'm thinking because I'm trying to articulate everything. So I remember watching a photo of my mother.
When you close your eyes, where was your mother? Did you see? I just asked you to imagine where your mother is. Sanya, what did you see?
Right now she's bedridden, so I saw.
She saw her bedridden. Anybody else?
I saw her in the kitchen.
In the kitchen.
I recollected a photo of her I clicked a few days back.
Nice. Anybody else? Yes.
मेरे गांव में मुझे रोटी खिलानी.
तो मैं गांव में आपको रोटी. So many things we think of. How many of you have actually captured your mother at the spot that you think she best belongs to? All of us mobiles, right? रसगुल्ला, इडली, चावल, आइसक्रीम, सबका फोटो लेते हैं. लेकिन अपने फैमिली का कोई फोटो शायद ही लेता है. केक खिला रहे हैं, ये कर रहे हैं, कहीं बाहर जा रहे हैं तो अजीबोगरीब जगहों पे खड़े रख के उनका फोटो इसलिए लग रहे हैं कि बिल्डिंग के आगे आप खड़े थे. इसलिए नहीं ले रहे कि आप मेरी माँ. Right? So basically, one thing that we need to understand is photographers that you need to learn to capture anything and everything that's important to you. Like they have a gift in you being interested in photography. So one thing I started doing was I started capturing anything and everything that was around me all the time. Okay, so when I was going to the temple, or if this was while shooting a building, right? So when I was shooting the building, things were happening behind us. So I always used to carry spare cameras to wherever I used to go, so that I was documenting anything and everything, and I was trying to change the way I see life, and I was trying, to basically bring more structure to my photography and more meaning to my photography. Right, so small things on how the tail of the cow also swings and the cow and the crow are looking the same direction. So you need to look at those smaller nuances in whatever you're doing in photography. Right, so this I'll very quickly share. This is a very rare image. I've never seen a man hug a cow. Right, so I was with my mentor in Ragurai in Bhuj, and basically he always told me, "Camera apna hame apne saath rakho." Right, so he shot the whole day. I was very tired, and basically in the evening, I took a shower, put my camera on the bed, and then he said, "Aajao," so we both walked down for dinner. I reached early, so the dinner basement was below, and the hotel is like a C-shaped hotel. And when I was walking down, this cow came and stood at the steps at the entry of the hotel. And I was walking down, and he took that shot of the cow looking into a hotel, which is again a very rare sight, right? A cow standing at the gate of the hotel, and from inside he got a fantastic image of me. So when I reached below at the dining table, he said, "Camera किधर?" I said, "Sir, पूरा दिन तो शूट किया, ऊपर पड़ा, ये देख." What an image! पूरा दिन मैंने मेहनत की, और this guy is like blessed. He got the best image of the day because he said, "तुम कैमरा साथ में रखोगे तो क्या फोटोज कैसे बनाओगे?" And he kept rubbing the whole thing to me. I was very angry and I said, went to bed very upset. Next day morning, मैं said, "आज तो इनको दिखा देना." He said 7:30 मिलेंगे, मैं 6 बजे उठ के चला गया पूछ. Right, and tried shooting this and that, कुछ मिला नहीं. And when I came back, he was supposed to come at 7:30, 7:25, what I was standing out for him. And this cow again came. I thought अंदर भागता हूँ और वही photo repeat करता हूँ. But then suddenly this waiter came and he hugged the cow out of nowhere. And this happened only for a second. I got one shot and he went. I said, "Boss, अब आओ नीचे." He came down. बोला, "सर कितने बजे है?" 7:30. मतलब सर 7:25 को आते तो ये फोटो आपको मिलता. जल्दी आने का कुछ तो फायदा होता. Right, so again, wherever I am going for whatever projects, or I work for the United Nations now. So when I am shooting for them on specific projects, I am making sure I am capturing what I like to capture. Right, so whether it's raining, not raining, luckily I get free cameras from Nikon, so I can afford to be in the rain. And basically, I am trying to capture whatever I can, And smaller things and these magic, look at the hair of the girl and the hair of the girl in the front. You know, I didn't tell her कि बाल ऐसे करो. Right? So architecture में शायद बोल भी देते when आम साल. I don't understand. I still don't understand why a girl in off-white is always walking in all the buildings. And she's always blur. So as I said, what I've learned is don't take images. It's very important that we all make images, right? So next time, I want to give you an exercise to all aspiring photographers is हाथ में एक rubber band बांधना where on your clicking finger, and the next time you're clicking a photograph, you know, it'll always remind you that why you're taking this picture, right? So you need to slow down. So as I said, you know, photography gives us the power to freeze history. It makes you look at the little nuances in life. So it helps you grow as a person, right? It makes you a much better observer in life. So in 2013, I was on a small assignment. Again, I was in business at that time. But I was shooting every weekend and I was off and on taking some assignments. And in 2013, I was in a small assignment in Nepal. When I was coming back, I got a call that, listen, I'm calling from the India office of National Geographic. We're doing a documentary on 8 Indian photographers. Would you want to be a part of it? I said, National Geographic का किसको part नहीं बनना है? I said, हाँ बस मैं आ रहा हूँ, कब आना है बताओ. बोले 1 महीने के लिए, अगले महीने आना है, श्रीलंका जाना है. I said, I'll be there. And then immediately I called my wife, you know, to give her the good news. And she said, before I could say something, she said, you know, while you're in Nepal, we could contact you. Your father has fallen and he's had a bad fracture and he has a bed rest for 2 months. So please come back early. You need to take over the whole business because things are going wrong. And I'm the only son. I said, shit. Nat Geo का phone आया और मुझे जाकर तो you can't do a thing, right? Because you have to, we are trained to tell ourselves that you have to do what you, even though you don't like to do, but you have to do because बाल बच्चे हो गए, माँ बाप का ध्यान रखना है, खानदान को आगे बढ़ाना है. So basically I came back and I didn't tell her for 1 week, but I was very disturbed and I told my father, okay, this is what has happened. He said, तू पागल है क्या? National Geographic has called you and you're not going for that. I said, but look at you, बोले boss, तू जा. And I was lucky I had somebody like him and I was there for a month. Basically we shot, we had a great fun and I was the runner-up at National Geographic at that time for that particular event and it turned out very well. I started getting more recognitions, the third party validation happened. Again, people started recognizing you and I was approached by United Nations. I'm still a photographer with them since 15 years now and I was getting loaded with slightly better assignments. Right? So for my first photo story on leader was for Mr. Modi and I was lucky that I could you know, photograph him and I'm still photographing him since 2006 on behind the scenes. Right? So we've had a collection of images that nobody has seen. Unfortunately, they're still not out. I don't know for what time, but we are waiting for some time that this culminates into a book or I don't know what. So I was lucky I was shooting people like him. And once this happened, you know, if you're shooting Mr. Modi, everybody wants to shoot him. Right? So I was shooting the President of India, some film stars. I was documenting and basically on weekends or on off and on assignments, I was doing this. I thought I was happy, I was making it, I was being successful, but suddenly in 2015, my father, he just passed away, right? And there were 3 factories, we were doing very well, business was growing, but I had to run it. I did not want to run it, I had to run it, right? So, but photography was there. This image actually I took when I was doing his Pindadan in Haridwar, right? So photography was there and I knew I had to shoot. But to run 3 factories in India and to go through all the processes that you have to, basically I had to give up photography totally for 1 year, right? So I gave it for 1 year, but I was feeling very suffocated inside. Although I was making a lot of money, I was very successful because business had really grown in that 1 year. But I was feeling very suffocated. So Doshi was my third mentor, and this is what he had to say.
It happened. And I think, what is it that makes it happen? So I thought one of the words that I remember is, can we ever try or be conscious that we give life a chance? Do we ever listen to our heart? Do we have to all the time think about how, why, when, and ask our mind to give us an answer? I think journeys, exceptional journeys or unexplored journeys happen if we give life a chance and listen to that little heart which is in the center of our body.
So I listened to my heart, and one fine day I went to my competitor, boss, this is the money I'm making, will you be a partner? He said, partner, kuch nahi, I'll buy it right now. I'll buy you out right now. But you get off the table, you're not, and the offer is off. And I thought, boss, whether I'm getting less money or more money, I have to get out of this right now. And I didn't call up anybody, I didn't ask anybody, I didn't call up my wife, nobody. I said, boss, Pati, sign a check, I'm out. I sold the business and I went home. And I told my wife, kal the office na jawan. Right? We didn't know what I'm going to do, whether I'm going to get assignments, no assignments, I didn't know. But I knew one thing, that I don't have to do what I don't want to do in life. Right? So for 20 days, I was at home doing nothing. Right? Sitting, chilling, but bhaji kantala. But 20 દિવસ સુધી, you know what happened? For 20 days, I didn't get a call for any assignment. I said, shit, was this a mistake? I was making X amount of money every month and today I don't have any assignment. I called up Raghurai. Sir, आपने और दोषी अंकल ने तो पापा को रोज बोला इसको लकड़ा मत बिको, फोटोग्राफर बनाओ, तो काम ही नहीं मिल रहा, मैं क्या करूं सर? He said, तू कुछ मत कर, आ जा. I went to Delhi, 15 days I stayed with him. He made me shoot every day like a student. He was training me, teaching me when my mind was off the money game that we are all. And one fine day, I got a call from you and there's a big assignment. Why didn't you come back? I said, sir, chalo, ek kaam to aa gaya. And while I was traveling, I got another call from New York Times that there's an assignment. And I got a call from the government of India that there was some big project. So work started coming in. So there was some magic happening finally in my life. And again, I started getting back to assignments that I liked. And I also started getting back to the kind of work that I was, really liking to do. So I started traveling even more, started exploring more things because I was totally a free bird and I was also getting work slowly. Right, so this is a project that I'm still working on, which is known as Shared Spaces, where we were shooting animals and humans in one space. So again, you see architecture in all kinds of chaos, you see structure in all kinds of chaos, and then architecture and me were nowhere related. I was just doing street photography, and Raghurai came to Ahmedabad. He was doing a book on V.V. Doshi's Gufa, and I was assisting, and Doshi said, Raghu, मेरा building है, किसी ने shoot ही नहीं है, तू करेगा? Raghurai said, मेरे को time नहीं, तू इसको ले ले, अच्छा लड़का. I didn't know who V.V. Doshi was. I knew must be somebody very big. तभी Raghurai इधर आया होगा उसको shoot करने. And then when I went back home and I, did some Google and I said, shit, he's the greatest in the world. I've never shot architecture in my life. I am going to document. I'm going to make a fool of myself. So I, called him. Doshi Kaka, you've been very sweet to me, but I can't shoot your buildings. I'm not an architectural photographer. He said, Raghu ne bola, tu acha yoga, tu aaja. I went there and he probably looked at me, didn't say anything, but I'm sure he asked me, एक camera, एक lens लेके tripod तो लाया नहीं. He didn't tell me anything. And then I just shot the building like I would have shot any street project, just handheld dark images, whatever I was doing, I shot him. And basically he saw the images and he said कि मुझे तो मजा आएगी, you shoot all my buildings. ऐसे सर कुछ brief तो दो, client का brief होता है, he gave me a brief which I took over periods of time, and basically I think if I still listen to this every week before I go out on a project, because this is the best that you can learn as an architect or as a student of architecture or as an architectural photographer. So that's Raghurai, that's V.V. Doshi. Now my greed was only to shoot V.V. Doshi because I wanted to do a book on him. I didn't care about his buildings at that time.
We never notice light. We just assume it. But when an object is created around it, it creates a nuance. It is an effort. Each step of the ladder is different. But with each step, you gain a new perspective. Not just see and admire nature, inhale it. Experience comes first, form much later. Create a bond, a sense of belonging, not just with the physical form, but with eyes, with sound, with senses, and then the landscape will begin to appear. The question I asked, what was important? Was it the form of the building or the content, the space? Look around. Every object around us, the nature itself, lights, sky, water, stone, everything is in a symphony. And this symphony is what architecture is all about. My work is the story of my life, continuously evolving, changing and searching. Searching to take away the word architecture when look only at life. I have been on this search for many decades. And it still mesmerizes me at every turn. It has been all my life, and I will happily be doing it for many more decades to come.
So imagine this was the brief that you get from an architect, and after all this process, in my first commercial assignment, somebody tells me कि चादर में थोड़ी करंसी दिखा है. So basically, I had my roots as a documentary photographer. I was blessed that I started my photographic journey with somebody as as divine as him, I would call it, because the kind of briefs he gives, and when I was shooting for him, miracles were happening. Right? I don't know if you see this image. Right? This is a miracle. He was walking and there was just one opening and that pigeon flew. I just took one image. Right? So these are miracles happen when the divine energy is with you. Right? And most of these images are taken with a handheld camera when I was just doing the recce of the building. Right? I don't even now showcase the actual images of the building which I took. Like he was just walking up and he told me, from the west we get beautiful light in the gallery and how it looks, and this makes the image, right? This was taken on the smallest possible camera that I had at that time, just one exposure, all greeny, but this we printed for more than 100 times in different exhibitions, right? So I started documenting Doshi, and he wanted to document his work where I was incorporating my learnings as a street and documentary photographer, and I was making the architecture support the life around it, right? આપણે અત્યારે ઘણા આર્કિટેક્ટ્સ અમને કહે કે એક માણસ રાખો ને ફોટોમાં અને બ્લર કરીને ચલાવો કે સાહેબ કેમ રાખવું છે, तो क्या scale मस्त, right? We use the humans for scale in architecture, right? But has any architectural theory, I don't know, I'm not a student, taught us that buildings are made to make humans small, look small? They're not, right? Basically, human gives meaning, purpose, and functionality to the buildings. They don't give scale to buildings, right? So let's not destroy the purpose of architecture, is what I believe, by just visually showing them in a wrong way. So this was a series of work that I did on him, and we did a book on him also with a couple of other photographers. And this exhibition just concluded in Madrid, so it's traveled to more than 12 or 13 countries in Europe, China, America, and different places. It's just come back. But again, after working with Doshi, what happened is started incorporating lot more architecture in my street photography, right? So it was vice versa. Street photography was helping my architecture, but I started pushing a lot of architectural elements, a lot of other things in my street photography also. So it was really helping me, and I was enjoying the process, and I still enjoying the process much more. Probably have to rush and getting late. So again, things of humor on how an image like this, you would not imagine two senior women even looking at it, but they were taking photos of it, and again these two pillars look like legs of two sexy women, right? The sun must be wondering ke su thai rahe. So basically, as I said, then I started getting a lot of commercial assignments, a lot of institutions, and I had promised myself I'll try and incorporate more and more life into at least the architectural projects that I love to do. So this was the first commission project that I got to shoot this building for Vitra Museum in Germany. So we were shooting the building like this. This obviously most of you must have seen. So Diana called me once and she said that she wanted me to shoot the school, and I said, must be some school in us, I don't want to go. And I didn't go for the assignment. When I saw it on the cover of AD, I said, shit, this was the building and I didn't shoot it. I immediately mailed to Diana, I made a mistake. It's a blunder. I won't charge you. Please let me shoot your school. She said, okay, you come down. We still need images, so don't worry, we'll pay you. And you can still shoot. But what I knew was, I said, I want some children. And it was post the second lockdown that we went there, and when about 30 kids were called to the school, they started running like mad around the school. I said, इन लोग को architecture इतना पसंद है क्या यहाँ का? So the चौकीदार said, architecture का तो सर पता नहीं, but ये 4 महीने से घर में बंद थे, इनकी रोज पिटाई हो रही थी. Because parents are frustrated with each other, they take it out on the kids, right? So basically this was what was happening during lockdown, and basically the kids made all the images. Let me tell you, obviously the architecture did support, but this was my visual representation of what the kids actually. This was the Chowkidar who actually, he's no more Paramji, but he actually had his granddaughters in the school. So we were just trying to document on what was happening in the school. The school was not in full form. We went back just last month and reshot the school in its full strength. But this was obviously with a set of 30 kids. And they were running around and doing their stuff, and we really, you could see the emotion. We didn't have to tell them, कि बेटा थोड़ा हंस देना, आम चूजे ने कदे कसूर नहीं. Now imagine these two holes were there to install taps, but they've given so much more meaning to the whole this thing. It's still not working. Yeah, so this footage was again bought by National Geographic. Can you press next? So, yeah, next. So we've started shooting, this was Bhuj Earthquake Museum. So we started shooting most of our buildings with the local people who actually use the buildings, right? And basically their interpretation of architecture. Yeah. So this was a school by N Black Studio in Vijayawada. This was Flame University, so there's a top shot of the shadows of the outdoor classroom that happens there. this is Noka by Sanjay Puri. So again, when the kids come to this library as a day off, so they are always excited to be here. Yeah, next. This is again a villa by Sanjay Puri. Next. Yeah, so I was fortunate I got to shoot some important buildings in the country. Okay, so that was all about architecture. I don't think I have much time, so I'll quickly rush through films. Do I have time to show 3 films or 4 minutes? Okay. So, again in films, there are 2 kinds of films that all of us do, and suddenly filmmaking has become the rage right now, and you see a lot of films, interior films, architecture films. So I do all kinds of films, but basically what I enjoy the most is bringing my learnings of photography into films, and the films, I tell all architects, when you're creating films and showing it to people, you're punishing them. કોઈને 4 મિનિટ સુધી એક જ વસ્તુ બતાવી is a punishment in today's age, right? So basically, how do we make them more engaging and also bringing out the message? So we try and make films either which are very strong in art, or we try and do films which give purpose and definition to the whole concept of why it is. Can we play the first one? So this was a film where we tried to mix 2 different art forms. We called 2 very good dancers and we said, can you interpret the building? And this is by Studio Sangaat in Ahmedabad. This is 079 Stories. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. So this was their interpretation of this architecture. So this was probably no meaning or anything, but it was just strong visuals. Can you press next? So this next project was a community center that Sanjay Puri designed in Noka. It's in the middle of, literally in the middle of nowhere. I think I'll skip the third film. We don't have time for this. Are we out of time, right? So can you just press next and just do the last slide? Okay, so this is my friend Boman. He explained a lot of things to me on where I keep asking a lot of people where I'm going in life and where should I go in life, right? So he's one of the mentors that I have, and he gave me a very good piece of advice and what I've done in life. He had this to say. Yep.
Is that why did he sell the camera? Why did he sell the camera? It's not that he needed the money, but if I may, I think it's a complete hero's journey. Joseph Campbell would say it's a hero's journey. That it mirrors the selling of something else. Had he not sold the camera, he would have not sold the business. And had he not sold the business, we would not have the Vinay Panjwani that we know today. All I want to say is, thank you for choosing me to do this. An honor, really, I say this. Thank you for choosing me.
So these are some of the mentors I have. Can you just press next step? That's all. Thank you so much. Thank you, Elev8, for choosing me to be a part of this. And thank you. I'm sorry. I'm sure you're for the next talk, and I'm holding you back. Thank you again. I hope you enjoyed the talk, and I could, convey whatever little I had to. For all the architects who want to engage me in meeting outside, for us, we can talk on the commercials. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.